With the small amount of money that Mama Nkechi had saved after so many long days at the market and extra jobs washing clothes, the happy morning finally came when Amina was ready to start primary school. And everyone in the family felt a special kind of excitement bubbling inside like fizzy soda, even though they were still poor and things were not easy. Mama Nkechi woke up extra early that day, cooked a bigger portion of yam porridge than usual, so Amina would have a full belly for her first day, carefully ironed the old but clean uniform that a kind neighbor had given them as a gift because her own daughter had outgrown it, and then she plaited Amina's hair into neat little rows with tiny black rubber bands, while telling her softly to listen carefully to the teacher, make good friends, and always try her best no matter what. Amina felt nervous butterflies dancing in her stomach as she walked the long dusty path to the primary school, which was a simple building with cracked walls painted white a long time ago, and classrooms that had wooden benches where many children sat close together. And when she stepped inside her class for the first time, wearing her slightly big uniform and carrying a small exercise book that Mama had bought with the last coins, the teacher, a gentle woman named Madam Grace with a warm smile, welcomed her kindly and showed her where to sit, next to a girl called Fatima, who had bright eyes and loved sharing her pencils. At first, Amina felt shy because some children had newer bags and shiny black shoes, while her own shoes were old with holes patched using pieces of cloth, and sometimes when it was time to buy new textbooks, many children raised their hands quickly. But Amina had to keep quiet because there was no money for extra books yet, so she would borrow from Fatima or carefully copy everything the teacher wrote on the blackboard using her best handwriting so she would not forget. Even with these small problems, Amina loved school more than anything, because every day she learned new wonderful things, like how to read simple words that turned into stories about clever tortoises and kind lions from Nigerian folk tales, how to add and subtract numbers so she could one day help count money properly at home, and how to write her own name in big, proud letters that made her feel strong inside. During break time, she played games with her new friends, like jumping rope made from old ropes tied together, or clapping hands while singing fun songs in the schoolyard under the mango trees. And she would run home after school full of stories to tell Kofi and Zara about what happened that day, like how she got a star sticker on her drawing, or how Madam Grace praised her for reading a sentence without any mistakes. When school fees were due again and Mama Nkechi had to sell even more vegetables or borrow a little from her market friend to pay on time so Amina would not be sent home, Amina would help by waking up very early to pick fresh okra from their small garden or carry water so Mama could have more time to rest her tired legs. And in the evenings, the whole family would sit together under the kerosene lamp while Amina showed them what she had learned, teaching Kofi and Zara the alphabet by singing it slowly and pointing to each letter she had written in the sand, which made everyone laugh and feel closer even on days when supper was only plain ugali with a tiny bit of vegetable soup. Year after year, Amina kept going to the school with the same determination shining in her eyes, always arriving early to sweep the classroom floor before lessons started, because she wanted to show thanks to her teacher, always helping classmates who found reading hard by explaining things quietly during free time, and always coming home with good reports, that made Mama and Kichi's face light up with pride brighter than the morning sun, because even though they still struggled with money for books or new uniforms, when the old ones tore completely, Amina was growing into a smart, kind, and hardworking girl who never gave up on her dream of learning more so she could one day lift her whole family out of hardship and give them the comfortable life they all deserved. As the years passed like gentle river water flowing steadily onward, Amina grew taller and wiser, finishing her primary school with shining reports full of praise from Madame Grace and many stars drawn next to her name on every test paper, so the whole family danced with joy in their small compound one evening when the good news came that she had passed to enter secondary school, even though the fees were higher now and the books she needed were thicker and more expensive than before. Mama Nkechi felt both proud and a little afraid because she knew this next step would demand even more hard work from her tired hands and aching back. But she wiped her worries away with a determined smile, tied her wrapper tighter, and went back to the market every single day without complaining, sometimes adding new things to sell like ground nuts. She roasted herself over a small fire or handmade soap that a neighbor taught her to make from palm oil and ashes so she could earn extra coins to keep Amina in a school without missing any terms. Amina started secondary school in a bigger building farther from home, where she had to wake up when the sky was still dark and walk for almost an hour along paths lined with tall grasses and banana trees, carrying her heavy books in an old sack because they could not yet afford a proper school bag. And in her new class, she met students from different villages, some who came on Okadas with shiny uniforms and others, like her, who walked with dusty feet but bright hopes in their hearts. The lessons became harder with subjects like mathematics that made her head spin at first with the long equations and geometry shapes she had to draw perfectly. English, where she learned to write beautiful compositions about her village life, biology that taught her about plants growing strong in poor soil, just like her family did, and history full of stories about brave Nigerian leaders who fought for freedom and better days. There were times when the school sent letters home saying fees must be paid soon, or the student would be sent away. And those days made Amina's stomach twist with fear because she did not want to stop learning when she was finally understanding so much, so she would quietly help Mama more by waking before dawn to fetch water and firewood, selling small bunches of greens door to door in the evenings after school, or even tutoring younger children in the village for a few naira that she handed straight to her mother without keeping even one coin for herself. Kofi was now old enough to start primary school too, and little Zara had begun nursery, where she learned colors and songs, so Mama Nkechi had to stretch the money even thinner to cover 3 school bags, 3 uniforms, and 3 sets of fees. But Amina never let her brother or sister feel left out, because every evening she sat with them under the dim kerosene lamp, patiently explaining what she had learned that day in simple words so they could understand, helping Kofi sound out new words in his reading book, and showing Zara how to count using pebbles from the compound until both of them started doing well in their own classes and bringing home happy smiles just like Amina did. In secondary school, Amina made a best friend named Kioma, who came from a family that owned a small provision store, and Kioma sometimes shared her extra pens or let Amina copy notes when the rain had smudged the ink on her own paper, and together they studied late into the night, whispering answers to each other and dreaming about what they wanted to become one day, with Amina quietly saying she hoped to go to university so she could become a teacher or maybe work in an office with air conditioning and a steady salary to take care of her whole family forever. When it was time for important exams called WAEC that would decide if she could move forward, Amina studied so hard that her eyes grew red from reading by lamplight, sometimes falling asleep with her head on the book, only to wake up and keep going because she knew every correct answer brought her closer to lifting her mother from the heavy load she carried alone for so many years. And when the results came months later, showing that Amina had passed with very good grades that made teachers clap and neighbors come to congratulate, Mama Nkechi cried happy tears for the first time in a long while, hugging her daughter so tightly while whispering thank you to the sky, because all those market days, all those sore feet, all those nights of worrying had led to this beautiful moment where her oldest child was now ready to chase the big dream of university, even though everyone knew the road ahead would still be bumpy and full of more sacrifices. But the love and togetherness in their little family made them believe they could face anything as long as they kept holding each other's hands. The proud day finally arrived when Amina received the letter she had waited for with a heart beating like fast drums, telling her that she had been accepted into the university to study business administration because she had scored so well in her WAEC exams and worked extra hard during her secondary school years. And the moment Mama Nkechi read those words aloud in their small compound with Kofi and Zara listening wide-eyed, the whole family jumped up shouting and hugging each other so tightly that tears of pure happiness rolled down everyone's cheeks, while neighbors peeked over the fence wondering what wonderful thing had happened in the poor family's house that day. University was far away in the big city where tall buildings touched the clouds and cars zoomed everywhere, making loud honks. So Amina had to leave home for the first time in her life, packing her few clothes into an old traveling bag along with her precious exercise books full of notes she had kept since primary school, and Mama Nkechi gave her the little money she had saved from selling extra vegetables and handmade soap, pressing it into Amina's hand while whispering that she must eat well, study even harder, and come back during holidays to see them, because the house would feel empty without her cheerful voice telling stories every evening. When Amina stepped onto the university campus for the first time wearing her best dress that Mama had carefully mended, she felt small among so many students who talked loudly about big dreams and carried shiny laptops and fancy bags, but she lifted her chin high, remembering all the market days Mama had walked under the hot sun and all the nights she had read by flickering kerosene light. So she found her way to the big lecture halls where professors with kind voices taught about money management, how companies grow, marketing ideas that make people buy things, and accounting that helped keep track of every naira, so nothing got lost. Life at university was exciting and new because Amina shared a small room in the hostel with 3 other girls who became her close friends, laughing together late at night about funny things that happened in class or sharing small snacks when one of them had extra, and they helped each other by explaining difficult topics when someone felt confused, like how to solve complicated business mathematics problems or write long reports that needed proper English and clear ideas. Some days were very hard because the money Mama sent was never enough for everything. So Amina learned to cook simple meals like beans and rice on a tiny stove in the hostel kitchen to save coins instead of buying expensive food from the canteen. And when textbooks cost too much, she would sit in the big library for hours, copying important pages by hand or borrowing from friends who had bought theirs, always making sure to return them neatly and on time so nobody ever got angry. There were nights when she missed home so much that her chest hurt, thinking about Mama cooking yam porridge in their little kitchen, or Kofi and Zara running around the compound playing games, and she would call them using a borrowed phone from a kind senior student, hearing their happy voices saying how proud they were and how much they loved her, which gave her a strength to keep studying even when her eyes felt heavy and her head ached from reading thick books under the bright hostel lights. Amina joined study groups where students sat together under trees on campus sharing notes and quizzing each other before big exams. And she always asked smart questions in class that made professors nod with approval, earning her good grades term after term because she never forgot why she was there. Not just for herself, but to one day get a job that paid well enough to build a strong house for Mama, with a proper roof that never leaked, buy new school uniforms for Kofi and Zara without worrying, and make sure her mother could rest her tired feet instead of walking miles to the market every day. Through all the challenges like power cuts that made the hostel dark or rainy seasons, when the paths turned into a slippery mud, Amina stayed focused and kind, helping classmates who struggled with money by sharing her handwritten notes or teaching them topics they found hard. And slowly she grew into a confident young woman who knew deep in her heart that every sacrifice or every late night, every worried prayer from Mama back home was building something beautiful step by step toward the day when she would walk across the stage in her black graduation gown, collect her university certificate, and finally turn all those years of hardship into a lifetime of joy and comfort for the family she loved more than anything in the world.